Swinging a high drive into center field. It's at the wall. It is gone. Costas does it again. It's gone. It's into the bullpen. This game is tied.
He swings and rips one to center field. It's high. It's deep. It's back. It's gone. Sale winds. He fires. Swing and a miss. Strike three. It's over. The Red Sox have won the World Championship.
Welcome back to Play Tessie. It's a bonus pod. We're going to continue our segment, AL East Outlook. It's back. Had a great first episode for you guys, talking about the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to be talking some Toronto Blue Jays today. Before we get into that, though, remember, hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts, Odyssey app, Apple, Spotify. Subscribe, rate 5 stars, leave a comment, give us your win prediction for the Blue Jays. That's what we're talking about today, the Blue Jays. Find us on the WEI YouTube channel where you can find all of our Play Tessie videos on the Play Tessie playlist there. So subscribe to WEI, hit the thumbs up on all of our videos, and go about your day. Just be happy about it. But on the socials at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. Here with Sammy, here with Pat. We're talking some Toronto Blue Jays. Synopsis of the Blue Jays is they were not good last year. Bad team. We saw them multiple times. The lineup just did not look like the formidable Blue Jays lineups that we'd seen for the last couple of years before that, even though they ended up getting swept in the playoffs every time. But the lineups were formidable. The rotation was good, but it just the team was not. The team didn't go anywhere, and last year they just weren't good. So what did they do this offseason? They tried to go for Juan Soto. They struck out. They tried to go for several other players and struck out on all of them. Yet they still ended up having a pretty productive offseason. Like, help me if I'm missing anyone here, but they get Santander. They get Andres Jimenez in a trade, an underrated ad, one of the best defensive infielders in baseball. They acquire Max Scherzer for the rotation. They get Jeff Hoffman and Yimi Garcia for the bullpen. And not for nothing, Bo Bichette barely played last year. And when he did play, he wasn't good. And they're hoping to get a good full season of him in a platform year heading to free agency. So this is a Blue Jays team that's going to be a lot better than they were a year ago. But at the same time, the Yankees are really good, the Orioles are really good, and the Red Sox were an 81-win team and also got considerably better. So where do you guys stand right now, just like on the Blue Jays? I feel like you get a mixture online when talking to people about, like, it's either who gives a damn about the Blue Jays? They're bad, like they're not going to be a threat, whatever. And they could be okay. Where do you stand on them?
Okay, so the Blue Jays, to me, are kind of the opposite of the Orioles, who we spoke about last week. The Orioles, I was saying, this team has an unbelievable young core. Shame on this front office for not doing nearly enough to supplement them. They're going to fall short. Whereas the Blue Jays, I'm looking at them, they got nothing on the farm system, and a lot of their good players are on expiring contracts, the main one being Vlad Guerrero Jr. and also Bo Bichette. And yet, they're out here like trying to sign Soto, as you said, Gordo. They got Scherzer. They signed Santander. They brought in Hoffman after he failed 2 physicals with other teams, whatever. They brought in a lot of guys. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Start the rebuild. The writing is on the wall. You're just delaying the inevitable. And you're not going to get as much for Vladdy when you either trade him or let him walk. Either way, I would have traded him in the offseason if I were the Blue Jays GM. I'm just looking at this team. I think in 2025, they're going to be a strong team, good team, probably like an 85-win baseball team, maybe even sniff the playoffs. But that's it. After 2025, they are absolutely cooked, and I don't think they're good enough to the point where you got to go for it in 2025, which is what it seems like they're trying to do. So the Blue Jays, I don't like the way they're running the show in a very different way than I didn't like the way the Orioles were running the show. I think that they are kind of chasing some fool's gold with this 2025 group.
How do you feel about them?
I think they're going to be so bad.
Really?
And I
Really?
do. That came over as a gross overestimation. I think they're going to be like an 80-win team, maybe 500. I think that's about where their ceiling is. I do like their rotation. I think the rotation for 2025 is, decent. The bottom half of the lineup is real bad, really, really bad, and the bullpen is horrendous. They were aggressive in a lot of weird areas. They got Hoffman, who, I mean, up until we knew about the physical stuff, I think we were pretty big on Hoffman. We wanted Hoffman. He can close. They brought back Yimi Garcia. Santander is a good ad, but it was more than adding on the margins, but I don't think they did anything substantial enough where you're like, this is a better team than last year. I just don't think that.
The Santander thing is interesting just because, like, yeah, he's going to be a good player for them this year. And I honestly think he's going to be a good player for them for the next few years. But to your guys' point, and Sammy brought it up, like, Vladdy's expiring, Bo's expiring. So yeah, like Santander will help you this year, but this team, unless they pull a rabbit out of the hat, they're not going to be a very good team in 2026 or 2027. They don't have a good farm system. So it's going to take
Maybe
some time.
Maybe the worst farm system. It's that bad.
So I just, by the time this team, and again, he'll help them this year. And I agree with Sammy. This could be an mid 80s win team, which is going to maybe make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going anywhere if they do make the playoffs, and they're not going to be a playoff team next year and the year or two after that. So I just don't quite, the Santander thing is interesting because yeah, they got a guy, but by the time they're competitive again, that's not going to be a guy that you're happy to be paying money.
Mm-hmm. Just looking at this roster, Pat, you mentioned the rotation. I agree with you. It's a nice rotation. They have Gosman, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, and then Bowden Francis, who just destroyed the Red Sox.
He's the best out of all of them, by the way. Bowden Francis, get it right.
Bowden, whatever.
He's the best out of all of them. He's going to be the number one.
He could be. It wouldn't shock me. And then
don't forget that fat piece of shit, Alek Manoah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's their sixth starter, and that guy. I mean, I know people are writing him off, and with
Tommy
good
John,
reason.
Right?
But I mean, if that guy bounces,
I think he got Tommy John. I thought it was early last year, so I think he'll be back mid-season.
Huh.
Yeah. Either way. All right. And then this is the lineup. I think this lineup is quickly the bullpen. It's Hoffman probably going to close, and then Yimi Garcia setting up. So not the scariest bullpen ever. That's definitely the weak spot. Here's the lineup. You have Bo Bichette leading off playing short. That's a guy that they missed most of the season last year, and he didn't play well when he was healthy. He's been really good in the past, and he's not old or anything, so I think he'll bounce back. Vlad, batting second, monster. Anthony Santander, batting third. George Springer, if he's healthy, he's good. Big if, but he's good. They have Dalton Varsho listed as a DH right now because he's kind of dinged up, but he's a defensive guy, so he'll play the field eventually, whether that's center field or somewhere else. Talented defensive player with a solid bat. Alejandro Kirk, super underrated catcher in my opinion. Plays good defense, can hit a little bit, just shaped like a fire hydrant, so people like to make fun of him. Andres Jimenez, as Gordo said, one of the best defensive infielders in baseball. Another guy with a roughly average bat, maybe a little bit below average. And then Ernie Clement playing third and Joey Loperfido batting ninth. So that 8 and 9 is not good, as Pat, you alluded to that. But I think that's a strong rotation and a strong lineup. The bullpen, not great. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with like 84, 85 wins for these guys. Fringe playoff team. But Gordo, like you said, if they get to the playoffs, nobody's afraid of the Blue Jays. And it feels like this is their last shot, and it's a half-court shot, and they're not Peyton Pritchard. So the odds are very low that they make it.
That's the issue that I have with how they operated here, because, and granted, like, they still can right the wrong at the deadline. They'll just have spent a lot of money before doing it. But to me, like, the obvious move would have been trading Vlad, not just in the offseason, but at the deadline last year. And I know they had good offers for Vlad last year at the deadline that they just didn't entertain. Maybe Bo wasn't tradable at that point, but Vlad certainly was. And you could have traded guys like, I remember we were all over Chris Bassett at the time. You could trade Kevin Gossman, like Jose Barrios. Like, you could deal some of these guys, and granted, if they're not in it at the deadline, they could have a generational sell-off and really jumpstart the rebuild in a way they need to do. But the way I see this going, and like, it's the worst case scenario, but that's how I see it playing out, is they're going to be 5-6 games out of the division. They're going to be like 1 or 2 games out of the wild card. It's going to be basically what the Red Sox have been the last 2 trade deadlines. They're either going to add or they're going to not sell, and they're not going to do, even if they make the playoffs. I think they could make it, but even if they do, they're not going to make noise. And then you're going to head into the offseason, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, guys that you brought up yourself, and these guys were supposed to be the guys that brought the Blue Jays that championship. And all you're going to get for them are comp picks, and they're a tax team, so they're not even going to be good comp picks. So it's just, that's the worst case scenario to me, and that's how I see it playing out. Like, Pat, do you think they're going to be bad enough where we're at the deadline they sell off, or do you think they're going to hang on all the way through?
No, and that kind of brings me to the question I was going to ask is, don't they kind of feel like they're becoming the Angels of the East Coast?
A little,
Like,
that
like,
might be putting it,
like,
that might be a little harsh, but
no,
maybe.
but
Close. Like I see what you're saying.
Grand scheme, like they're spending money, but not in the best places. They're not really focused on the players they have rostered. The Angels did not extend Ohtani. The Blue Jays did not extend Vlad. But like a couple years ago, the Angels go out and they get, an aging Pujols or an Upton or a Hamels. Blue Jays go out and get Santander and Scherzer. It feels like they're just running in place. They're doing nothing to set a rebuild forward, and they're not doing anything to kind of set themselves over the edge to really, truly contend year after year.
And the other issue too is you look at Vlad specifically, and like we can go on and on about how horribly they've mishandled the Vlad Jr. situation, but it started years ago where, and like Ken Rosenthal wrote about this, but it's like when Fernando Tatis extended with the Padres, got a boatload of money, but now you look at that contract and it's like, his AAV is pretty fair, pretty team friendly. Vladdy would have signed one of those deals, but the Blue Jays didn't do it. And then they throw $700 million at Ohtani. Ohtani resets the market. Vladdy's price goes up. They don't pay it to Vlad. They insult Vlad. Next year, they throw $700 million at Soto. That increases Vladdy's price even more. Now an offense only player is getting $700 million, and my team offered it. So yeah, even more of a price hike for Vlad. And now I don't know what they offered. I'm sure it was a lot, but I'm sure it wasn't 700. I'm sure it wasn't 600. I'm sure it wasn't 500. I don't think Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is going to be back with the Blue Jays in 2026. I don't know. Do either of you guys think he's going to be back in 2026?
No.
I think the Red Sox are going to trade Tristan Casas and then push in all their chips to sign Vladimir Guerrero, or push in all their chips to sign Vladimir Guerrero and then trade Tristan Casas. Whatever the order. I actually think that's going to happen. And I think the only other free agent that I predicted I actually thought they would sign is Alex Bregman. So I don't throw these out there a lot. It just makes sense. I feel like that's the guy that they would go after. So no, I don't think Vlad is going to be on the Blue Jays in 2026. I think he's going to be on the Boston Red Sox.
Pat, do you think he's going to be a Blue Jay next year?
No. And I'm not even saying that because I think he's going to be a Red Sox. I think they missed their window. The only time I truly believe Vladdy would have signed back with Toronto was if they had extended him before his deadline. Once he hits the open market and money starts looking the same, he's been in Toronto for what will be 7 years. They haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to want to go to new waters. He's a big market guy. I don't see a world where he goes back unless they extend him somehow before opening day, which I don't think that happens.
I mean, he says the right things. Like, I get that he's talking to John Heyman about, all 30 teams are in, whatever. But he says the right things about the Blue Jays. He'll say, yeah, like, I want to be back. I want to spend my whole career with Toronto. Like, he tells his teammates that. But let's be real here. Like, this is an organization that has insulted him. You've got a GM fighting for his life. That's why they're pushing in these chips, is because Ross Atkins wants to keep that job and thinks he needs to make the playoffs to do it, but won't push in the chips for Vlad. So you do all that, you insult the guy, you have no farm system, your roster is aging, your other co-star is also a free agent. By all accounts, it doesn't sound like Bo Bichette wants to stay there long term. I agree. I don't think he's going to be back. And I would say the Red Sox and the Mets are the two teams I would watch the closest to potentially sign Vladdy. And I think the Red Sox situation there all depends on mainly on Tristan Casas, because if Casas has a 40 homer season, like, they're not gonna trade away a minimum or an arbitration eligible contract, like a first year arb guy, to pay four to 500 million for Vladdy. But if Costas is hurt again, if Costas hits 28 homers, like has a good season, but not an elite season, then at that point it's like, okay, like we'll do what we need to do to get Vlad, get a right-handed bat in the lineup, a guy who crushes Fenway. It's tough because I love Tristan Casas so much. I love Vlad Guerrero Jr. so much. I want there to be a way for the Red Sox to have both of them. I'm not going to give up hope on it, even though I know it's unlikely, because then you'd have to convince one of them to DH. But I'm going to hold on to that hope, and I'm going to keep tooting the Vlad Guerrero Jr. horn to bring him to Boston because, oh God, would he be so good here.
Yes, and then really quick, just to show how dire things are in Toronto future-wise, this is their top three. We'll just go for their farm system. Their number one prospect is Arjun Nimala, who's 19 years old, and he's in single A. He's not expected to be in Major League Baseball until 2028 per MLB pipeline. Number two is Trey Yesavage. A pitcher who has a lot.
Is that really how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Yesavage?
Eastern Carolina.
Damn.
All right.
I've had that wrong in my head for years.
Trey Yesavage, who is a pitcher who has injury issues already, despite being 21 years old, and there's already murmurs of him. Maybe he's a reliever. That's their number two prospect. And then number three is Orelvis Martinez. He's 23 years old. He's expected to make the Blue Jays Major League roster. That's another guy that we have to factor in, but he's not even in the top 100. So that's their big three. You compare that to the Red Sox big three. It's a little bit different.
I get a lot of, because of my love for Vlad, I get a lot of Blue Jays people in my For You page, and they love themselves some Orelvis Martinez. They love themselves some Orelvis. I don't know.
And he, like I said, not top 100 guy anymore. He was a top 100 guy. He is a guy that a lot of people like. I mock him, but he's actually a solid prospect. But Nimala and Yesavage are ranked 86th and 87th in the top 100 respectively. So just not bad prospects, but just not, you don't want them to be your top guys in the year 2025.
And certainly not when your best players are on expiring deals. So
certainly,
yeah, just not a team that's in a good spot, but a team that could make some noise in 2025. We'll leave it at 2025 and not go beyond it. But let's get the predictions. Joe will bring you in for the predictions here. Let's start with the lineup. Blue Jays lineup or Red Sox lineup? Who are you taking? Sammy, I'll give you the first word.
Red Sox, just more experience, deeper lineup. I like it way more. Close-ish, but Red Sox.
Pat?
Oh, I don't think it's close. It sucks.
Joe?
Let's make it 3 for 3. I'll say Sox as well, even though I love me some Bo Bichette.
Hell yeah, you do, buddy.
Hell yeah, you do, buddy.
Yeah, I'll go with the Sox too. I feel like there's going to be a lot of Red Sox logos on this graphic, and the lineup would they have a solid rotation too, but I don't know. The lineup might be the closest to getting a Blue Jays logo on there, but I'm not going to do it. The Red Sox, I think, they may not have the best hitter of the two teams combined, but they definitely have the second, third. They've got a deeper group. They've got more potential down in the minors to account for any sort of error at the big league level or injury. It's the Sox. Let's go starting rotation. Sammy, what do you got? Starting rotation.
I'll go Red Sox by a little. Gosman, good pitcher, a little bit older. Jose Barrios, up and down, solid overall. Chris Bassett fell off a cliff last year. I really wanted him at the deadline. Thank God that didn't happen.
Me too. Thank God.
Yeah, we all did. Max Scherzer is 100 years old. Who knows how he's going to look on another team. Bowden, Francis look good, but it's Major League Baseball. We'll see. We'll see how he does. And then Manoah could bounce back, but who knows? I give me Garrett Crochet with the more upside than Sidney Sweeney. You got Tanner Houck coming off an all-star campaign. Walker Bueller's been an all-star a million times. If he's healthy, oh my God. Lucas Giolito, same thing. Brian Bayo took another step forward last year. Look good towards the end. So, yeah, give me the Red Sox. And better depth. Better depth. Quinn Priester, Richard Fitz, Hunter Dobbins, Cutter once he's back. Sox.
All right, Pat, Blue Jays or Red Sox starting rotation?
Blue Jays.
Ooh, there we go. Our first Blue Jays logo. Why you got Blue Jays?
I just think they have less question marks. I think they have more sure things. I think the Sox undoubtedly have higher upside. I mean, if Bueller and Giolito are 70% of what they've been in the past, Bayo takes a step forward, Hal replicates what he did, Crochet keeps developing. It's them in a landslide. But at this point in time, I mean, the track record's there. I think they have far less question marks. Their only question mark is Max Scherzer right now. So it sucks, but I slightly lean Blue Jays just because there's less uncertainty there.
All right, so our first Blue Jays logo. Joe, what do you got?
I think looking at Toronto, I think Bowden Francis is the only one that I could make the argument would be better than like a Tanner Houck or whatever, or Bayo. I won't put him up there with like Crochet or whatever. Scherzer just cannot stay healthy, but he does have better stuff, and they are very right-handed dependent. Crochet obviously is their ace. There's a lefty for that. I'm gonna take the Sox over Toronto for that one.
All right, we got another Sox. This is a tough one, and I have to go with the Red Sox just because I think that the top two rotations in the AL go Mariners and then Red Sox.
Sorry, technical difficulty.
I can't. All right, I'm going to continue my thought. I think the Blue Jays have one of the top rotations in the AL, but I think it goes Mariners, Red Sox as the top two. So it's tough because I feel bad. The Blue Jays have a good offense. They have a good rotation. They have a great rotation. I just think the Red Sox have the edge on both.
Gordo, you wouldn't put Yankees rotation over the Blue Jays?
It's close. I think I probably would put the Yankees rotation over the Blue Jays, though. I think I'd probably. I mean, that literally might be the top four. I'd have to go look at it, but it literally might be at least in my eyes, Mariners, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays.
Yeah, the problem with putting the Red Sox up there, Pat mentioned this, you're kind of banking on upside. But I feel confident in the Red Sox ability to hit that upside. Maybe it's a little bit of homerish of me, but whatever. It's what I believe. So, like Crochet, how could you not believe in Garrett Crochet? And if he is who we think he is, I feel like that already puts the Red Sox in a spot where you can make an argument that they're, close to that one spot in the AL.
All right, let's go to the bullpen. Sammy, Sox or Blue Jays bullpen?
Red Sox. The Blue Jays just don't really have that good of depth. Hoffman already has injury concerns. I think it was the Braves and the Orioles who passed up on deals with him before the Blue Jays ended up signing him. So, I mean, that's a red flag if I've ever seen one before. Yimi Garcia, good setup man, but that's not nearly enough to surpass the Red Sox, who, like we talked about a few episodes ago, if plan A doesn't work out for the Red Sox, plan B and C both look pretty good in the bullpen. So, that one, easily Red Sox bullpen.
Pat?
Oh, Sox by a country mile. I believe statistically the Blue Jays had a bottom 2 or 3 bullpen in the league last year. And
it's been bad.
And they brought back everybody and just added Jeff Hoffman, whose elbow is a ticking time bomb. It's not close. It's the Red Sox.
Joe?
Only argument you could make is that back end with Yimi Garcia setting up, but just like the others, no doubt the Sox.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think that Jeff Hoffman probably is the best reliever today on both teams, but it's still the Red Sox, and I think the Red Sox have a good but not great bullpen, but the Blue Jays bullpen it's just not going to be good. It's just not. They've got Jeff Hoffman in the back, and Yimi Garcia has been good, but he's getting older. He's been around a long time. And they really don't have much upside elsewhere. Like maybe if Yariel Rodriguez transitions to the bullpen and becomes a weapon, but Let's be real. Like, we see it with the Sox. Their starters go down, and that forces the sixth man into the rotation. So that's probably going to happen with Yariel at some point. I doubt that you're going to get to see him be some lightning rod in the seventh inning for much of the season. So yeah, I think it's pretty comfortably the Red Sox there. There's going to be a lot of Red Sox. Blue Jays Twitter is going to find this graphic and they're going to get pissed off. But like,
dude,
it
if
is
Blue
what it
Jays
is.
Twitter, I hope Blue Jays Twitter listens to this episode and tell us what you don't agree with. Because crap, the one thing I could see people getting on me is saying the Red Sox have a better rotation, but I explained that. I'm taking the upside. Bassett old, Scherzer old, a lot of old.
Blue Jays Twitter, and yeah, no, I was going to say no offense, but maybe it is offense. They're very whiny. They're very, very whiny. I had one of them. I saw like multiple Devers jersey swaps when people were running with the whole Devers wants to play third base and like is going to get traded thing. Like, people were running with that and making graphics of him on like the Dodgers and like the Yankees and the Blue Jays and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, enough, make it stop.
It hurts.
And I had a Blue Jays fan quote tweet that and say like, yeah, how do you think Red Sox fans know how it feels to have their star jersey swapped? Like, yeah, huh? And I literally quote tweeted him and he deleted it before I could even do it. But I quote tweeted him. I was like, buddy, your star is on an expiring deal. Literally just told John Heyman yesterday that he's down to negotiate with all 30 teams. And our guy is under control for a decade and isn't getting traded. So like, enough. Blue Jays Twitter. I thought Canadians were supposed to be like nice, chill, whatever. Like, if you wouldn't know it by Blue Jays Twitter, at least from my experience. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let's go to win totals. Sammy, win total. What do you got for Blue Jays in 2025?
I'll go 83. 83 wins. So what's that? 83 and 79? Yeah.
Yeah.
83 and 79. So they'll sniff the playoffs, probably won't make it. That's my guess. And I think that's maybe generous. So 83-79.
Pat?
I'm going to go 80 and 82.
80 and 82.
I think they're a touch under 500.
Joe?
I will say I don't want to give the same. I think they're actually going to be slightly under 500. I'll give them 79 wins this year.
Okay. I think they're going to be an 84 win ball club, which would be what, 84 and 78?
Yep.
Yeah, 2019 Red Sox.
84 and 78, which will be above 500. They will not sell at the deadline. They
not sell at the deadline?
They will not sell at the deadline.
I'm with Gordo.
Yeah, I could see that. Nothing they do is waving the white flag, which for better or worse.
They should sell at the deadline. I think they're going to be like a game out of a playoff spot at the time and then not do it. And it's going to be basically what the Angels did with Ohtani. They're basically going to go in with what Pat said, it's going to be the Angels 2.0 here. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be one of the 3 wild card teams. I think they're going to miss by a couple of games and it's going to be an all out disaster in Toronto moving forward. And they're just going to have to try to buy their way out of it because they've got deep pockets, but you can't win in Major League Baseball anymore just by spending. You have to have some level of both development and spending, and it's going to take them some time to get there. So enjoy your last hurrah, Blue Jays fans, but I think you're going to come up short, and then I think it's going to be a pretty tough next few years.
Can I ask a quick question before we wrap up here?
Yeah.
Do you guys think Blue Jays fans appreciate the way the front office is operating, or do you think they're annoyed by it? Do you think they see the writing on the walls?
I think the way Sox fans were frustrated at ownership before Crochet, Bregman, all that's going to be what Toronto will be.
I think the Blue Jays fans today want them to rebuild it. They probably want them to pay Vladdy, but I'm sure they would love to see them like trade Gausman. They could have easily traded Gausman this offseason. Like, and it doesn't mean that the ship has sailed. Like, Think about the guys they could trade at the deadline: Gosman, Bassett, Guerrero, Bichette, Scherzer, Yimi Garcia, like
Barrios. Who's
Barrios, like
controlled.
yeah, like they could do a lot of shit, but if they're a game out of a playoff spot, I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, unless they're like the worst team in the American League, they're not selling.
Yeah, and it's just going to lead them to more problems. Which, I mean, this is what you get when you have a lame duck GM. Like, you either got to extend the guy and let him know, like, you're going to guide us through the rebuild that's probably coming, or you got to fire him now and hire the Chaim Bloom that's going to get you through the rebuild. Because if you have the guy in a lame duck status, he knows the only way he's going to keep his job is by making the playoffs. So what's he going to do? He's going to try to make the playoffs.
I mean, you were saying you chirped Blue Jays fans earlier, but I feel like what you just said was kind of calling them smart. If you think that's how they're thinking, okay,
stupid.
yeah, I mean, they're thinking, all right, we're probably not going to win the World Series in 2025. What's the point of hanging on to all of these guys?
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd feel, because the fan in me, I'm never going to want to see the Red Sox punt on a season when they're in playoff contention. That's just like, you never know when the next chance you're going to have is to make the playoffs. So I get that, but then also, how much fool's gold can one person buy from the same team? You know, like, is this really the group for the Blue Jays? So I don't know. Kind of a tough line that the Blue Jays fans have to walk this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel bad for them. Like, they've been through some shit. Like maybe worse than what we went through before this offseason, before the end of this one. But like they've missed out on Shohei, they've missed out on Soto, they missed out on a bunch of guys this offseason. Like, no one wanted to go there. Corbin Burns didn't want to go there. Max Fried didn't want to go there. I don't know how in they were on Blake Snell, but he sure as hell didn't want to go there. I feel for them, but at the same time, it's like, don't fucking chirp me for not wanting my Rafael Devers, who's under control for 9 fucking seasons, to get traded. Like, relax. God.
Mean Gordo. Oh, yeah, you have to be meaner this year.
Yeah, I have to be meaner.
Yeah. Mean Gordo. Get us out of here, Gordo.
Should I be mean by making you stay on for 5 more minutes?
What was that?
Yeah, that's the devil inside me. Yeah.
Gordo's too nice.
Bradfo says I have to be meaner. What did I? I told him he paid too much for his sunglasses. That was my mean comment to Bradfo. All right, let's get out of here. We've done enough Blue Jays talking for one night. Appreciate you guys tuning in to the bonus pod previewing the Toronto Blue Jays. Evidently, we think they will be an okay team in 2025. We all think they're headed for disaster beyond that. But we appreciate you guys tuning into this one. But remember, subscribe. We'll have another episode dropping for you guys next week on Monday. So subscribe, get notifications wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the 5-star button, leave a comment, give us your Blue Jays win prediction. Tell us if you think Vladdy will be there, and if not, where he's going to sign. If you think it's going to be with the Red Sox, tell us. You can leave that comment in the YouTube comments as well. We're on the WEI channel. We've got the Play Tessie playlist there where you can subscribe to WEI. And on the playlist, you can find all of our episodes in video form. Hit the thumbs up on those for us. We really appreciate it. And then, as always, we are on the socials at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. So for Sammy and for Pat and for Joe producing, it is Gordo here for Play Tessie with this bonus pod AL East outlook, previewing the Toronto Blue Jays. Thanks for tuning into this one. Peace.